Hi, beautiful Geraldine. So I would like to introduce you to our beautiful audience. So Geraldine Georgeou is the practicing accredited nutritionist. She's been featured on Channel 10, Channel 7, SBS, and the radio. She's also the author of the book that I've just read, The Australian Healthy Skin Diet. And I'm just absolutely overwhelmed with how amazing and informative this book is, Geraldine. You've done such a good job.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you so much for having me too in these crazy times that we're in with COVID. I'm just very grateful. I think everyone's worrying about their skin for sure. We're going into week 3, isn't it?
Yes, we are going to week 3, and it will be a great opportunity just to talk and, sort of touch base with our beautiful, patients and clients, and just to see, how we can help them, get their skin healthier, reduce the anxiety and stress level. So I just really want to touch the base in terms of the gut health and how is it related to the skin, because I'm such a big advocate of nutrition and healthy eating. I just really want to teach people how actually it is all related together. They say beauty starts from the gut, but actually not many people know how the relationship between those two. So can you explain to us, please?
Yeah, completely. And I think we all talk about gut health, but what are we really talking about? So we know that the term gut health is really talking about our digestion and how we actually uptake our nutrients. And it's about the digestion and absorption of foods in the absence of a GI illness. So patients of mine, they might have other conditions of their gut from Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, which can spread more inflammation, which can also have an impact on your skin and your immune health. But overall, we're going to look after our gut health because that's our state of well-being. And without a good gut health, it's not going to show on our skin.
Yeah, that does make sense. So tell me, Geraldine, is there any foods that impact on the skin health?
Well, absolutely. And I think some of the foods that we think about probiotics, we think about fiber. But number one, what we can all do is get enough fiber in our diet, and fiber is essential. I mean, I'm not sure, Sophia, if you ever thought about how much fiber you should have in a day. But normally 30 grams of fiber is what is expected a day. And we also need fiber to feed our commensal gut flora, which means our pre-existing gut flora. And when our gut flora is disrupted, so if we don't have, so when we talk about foods, if we don't have foods that feed our gut, so good fibers, then we're going to have issues with modulating inflammation. So for example, a good type of species or probiotic, for example, Lactobacillus bifidobacterium strains, which we can also find in fermented products. These products are very important for our skin health. And we know that certain gut-friendly bacteria has been found to actually have a positive effect on acne, for example. But we also know that people that are lacking in fiber, and then together we need adequate water. So we all talk about hydration in skin and plumpness and all that sort of stuff. So if we're thinking about fiber as an important nutrient, we're talking about probiotics are an important nutrient, or feeding our gut flora to promote our natural production of lactobacilli, for example. But we also need to have enough water and fluid. And then for some people, back to fibers, we may even find that we need to have, what type of fiber do you need? So like a soluble fiber, which will be found in, for example, heaven forbid, potato, for example, which is one of the most nutrient fiber foods we can have because it's rich in minerals from the soil, but it's also got a lot of what we call resistant starch, which feeds butyrate in our gut, which then in turn reduces inflammation. So as you can see, I can talk about these 3 things forever. But if you think about, okay, what are 3 things we need? We need fiber, we need resistant starch fibers and soluble fibers, and we also need to promote that good gut flora. So if we go back to the book on page, believe it or not, I've got it at my hand, 157, a warm salad and potato salad with sauerkraut. If I turn to that page, you're going to find that that particular recipe, if we're talking about what foods, something like that's quite yummy, particularly in winter. A nice warm salad would feed our gut.
Beautiful. Geraldine, can dairy foods make a difference to the condition of the skin, and why and how?
Yeah, it can impact your skin. And we know that, firstly, it doesn't mean, firstly, just make sure that we understand that dairy is an essential nutrient in our diet. It's low glycemic, it's a good balance of protein into our diet, and it's going to provide good nutrients, as we all know, calcium. But there has been some research that's shown that drinking milk, for example, could be problematic for teenager acne and another condition called dermatitis pediformis with hidradenitis suppurativa. I know all these big words, but some foods, so for example, with dairy, drinking milk could show some issues, but we also know that we need to have sources of dairy then for that good gut bacteria we're talking about. So yogurt, for example, is a very good source of good probiotics and doesn't seem to have an impact on skin as a negative effect. We also know cheese doesn't have a negative effect either, and it could be part of the fermenting process. Another food that could be an issue with skin, I sort of touched on it briefly, was with dermatitis pediformis, gluten and wheat can have an impact on dermatitis, which is a type of blistering rash that people can get. But we know, though, that if you are thinking about any sort of food sensitivities that could be triggering your skin, make sure you check in with your allied health professional, credit practicing dietitian, dermatologist or GP, because any food exclusion should be done with close supervision.
My next question will be, when our audience is listening to us, they would not know when, to contact somebody like you. So what are the signs, that presented that do you think that they should contact you? What are the things that we're going to be looking for?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand your skin situation to start with. In the actual book, you'll see that it talks about the function of your skin, the role of macro and micronutrients, and then understanding, okay, well, if I have new learning about how food works in my body, well, what condition do I think I have? So it could be that working with you as a diagnostic and together with seeing, say, your GP, or even if you've already got a dermatologist, some people have had lifelong psoriasis, for example. And psoriasis is an interesting one because psoriasis has underlying metabolic conditions associated, like diabetes, polycystic ovaries even. So these sort of conditions, if you've got, say you've got PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and you're dealing with hirsutism and acne, that will be when you might want to work in with a dietitian, with your beauty therapist, and really being able to look at tackling the areas that you need to tackle: nutrition, hormonal health. There might be some medical intervention, for example. Some patients, I was only just this morning talking to a lady that has had, their daughter's got a history of new onset urticaria, which is like a hivey rash type condition. Now, if that sort of comes upon you, it can happen at times of stress too, especially now. It could be triggered by a food additive, a food chemical, a food sensitivity. I like to call it the insatiable itch. It could be an indicator of autoimmune diseases and a histamine response. So some people, we may take it down the path of a food elimination with different food chemicals. We may address your gut microbiome simultaneously and making sure we haven't got any underlying health conditions associated with it. So if you've got a rash that's not getting any better or keeps coming and going, you've got urticaria, you might have there's polycystic ovaries, and extra hair on your chin could mean that you've got problems with underlying metabolic disease, believe it or not. Even a skin tag, can you believe? So I think just if you've got something chronic and it keeps coming back, and or that you might have a family history of some of these conditions that I mentioned.
Geraldine, would you agree that there is a various and different factors that do impact on the skin health, such as genetics, your lifestyle, the food, some of the other habits, that people might think that, it's not impacting that much, such as, consuming, a lot of fast food, drinking alcohol, and things like that.
Yeah, 100%, Sophia. I think it's really important to touch on all the skin triggers that could be there. So if it's not an actual medical condition itself, it might be exacerbated, as you mentioned, from your lifestyle. Drinking alcohol, there's a section in there about alcohol and what to do about that. Exposure to sun, environment, exposure to just even up to hot showers, for example. These are sort of things that can really have an impact on your overall health outcome and your skin outcome. So you need to address all these areas if you've got a chronic health condition. And so working with someone like yourself and working with a team that will be able to help you guide what journey you need to take at the start, and also the chronic management. Because as you know, we want long-lasting, beautiful skin. And
That's correct.
And like I said, it can come from many factors.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Geraldine. And obviously, I would love, to know people how to find you. So I know you've got 2 offices, one in Cogra and one in Bondi. Yep. And I absolutely love your business name, which is Designer Diets. It's
got to sound nice.
Amazing.
It's got to sound nice, Sophia. I think people go, why do you call it that, Geraldine? I go, well, balanced eating sounds daggy. So I thought, thought at the end of the day, you need to design an eating plan that's right for you, for your health situation at the time I meet you, to create a long-term health outcome. But yeah, thank you for liking the name.
Beautiful. And I will definitely tag you in this post, and I'll put your details on how to be contacted and getting in touch with you. So by closing this session, I just wanted to, give our audience some tips. During being in this lockdown, I've been getting a lot of messages from my patients, and one thing that they do have all in common, that they can't seem to be staying away from the fridge and pantry. Yes. Is there any tips that you can give us?
All about trying to keep some routine. And, we know when you're out of routine, everything falls apart. And I think we've all had that experience. So, routine with skincare, routine with, making sure you're eating 3 main meals a day. I think a lot of people have been caught up in this, I'm going to try some intermittent fasting, I'm going to try all these different type of dietary approaches. I think the most important thing we need to do is to avoid starvation. We need to think nourishment. We need to eat regularly. We need to not set ourselves up with hunger. We need to also maybe not be tempted and not buy those foods that we know we shouldn't be, like the number of people that are getting flares with rosacea, for example, because they're drinking more, they're snacking more at night, and not realising they're also triggering their hormones from within. So I think the good news is, thankfully, we're allowed to still do some exercise, outdoor exercise. So I think it's really important to keep that going, keep your water up, make sure you've got adequate fibre. And I know this could be a talk on its own, but sleep and skin and sleep hygiene is another area that definitely we can be talking about. And I'd love to be able to do more of these with you, Sophie, just to also just how do we manage the teenager with acne at home, trying to deal with school life and being miserable and being pubertal, So there's all these, scenarios that we don't realise that's happening around us. And there's no point eating your sorrows away, and we just need to
that's right.
No, this is short-term situation. Now's the time to learn as much as we can, and just and now's the time to really think about, well, maybe grab this book and have a look at some of the recipes and maybe practice a couple. So that might be part of your sort of staple type recipes that you could make. You might get good at making leftovers, who knows? But now's the time to just really have a good look at what you're doing and how you can make it a better you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Stay strong and stay positive. Try to keep busy as much as you can. And as you said, my advice, to them was, if you think it's not good for you, try to avoid having those things in the fridge and the pantry. Try to have some sort of routine that will keep you busy. I know that there is, parents up there that just found out this morning that they'll have to do homeschooling. So that makes things a little bit harder. So I do also wanted to remind everybody that if they need some advice, need some support, to contact me, and I will be referring to you if people do have any extra questions and they would like to find out some more information. Again, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time from your busy schedule. I really appreciate it, and I look forward seeing you and talking again.
Yeah, wonderful, Sophia. Thank you for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.